Well, hello, it's me, Julian Greystoke. We are back with my sexy microphone voice. Well, alright, this is voiceover Julian. Hi, hello. We're here again with another sort of reaction video. Much like Jenna who we're going to be talking about today, I am an author as well as a YouTuber who likes to give advice about writing here on the internet. Except for I'm not nearly as popular as she is. But that doesn't stop me from having opinions, baby. This is sort of a 2-for-1 because there were 2 videos that I thought I had something to say something about of Jenna's, and also we are only talking about a couple of points that I wanted to rebut versus last time I did a whole one of her videos and talked about all of the points that she talked about, and some people didn't like that. They quite frankly don't like to see me agreeing with her at all, and honestly, I agree with her like 90% of the time. Granted, that is often because her advice is very surface level and sort of very easy to agree with. Like, she doesn't really push any envelopes, except in this one specific place where she is very, very opinionated about this one thing, and we disagree on it. I'm sure most of you have guessed what it is by now, and if you're tired of hearing me or her talk about it, then just give this video a pass. That's fine with me. That thing is, of course, her absolute hatred of people who do not plot their books. It does not seem to be a mere simple dislike. It seems to be a level of loathing hitherto unseen by man. But I will say that in her more recent videos, she has backed off it a great deal. For a while, in many of her videos, you were guaranteed that one of her points was going to be that you shouldn't pants, that you had to plot. And nowadays, she usually only puts it in some of her videos, but these are a couple where I was listening along, generally agreeing with points, and then we got to these points. She thinks she's helping, she's super not, and we're gonna talk about why. It's not only that, there are a couple of things that I wanted to talk about with this particular video. This first one being the 10 worst lies told by the writing community. As soon as I saw that title, I knew that plotting versus pantsing was gonna have to be in there, but I went in with hope anyway that maybe this time, but no, it's in there. Also, I just want to say, as I previously mentioned, none of this is anything against Jenna as a person. These are just her videos. This is just what she puts out. And as I said, in general, I agree with most of her points in just about every video, which is why I don't make a lot of these reaction videos, because people just don't like to watch me just agree with her about everything. All right, so we are going to watch this first little bit of the 10 worst lies told by the writing community, and then I will rebut, and then we'll watch another little section. I don't know if I'm gonna speed this up, but we're just gonna go ahead and watch it here.
Number 7, if you can't pants a novel, you don't have the natural talent to be a writer. Imagine thinking that a lack of foresight and organization makes you superior. I'm just gonna wing it, cause I'm better than you. In no other career is this considered positive. If you were about to go under the knife and your surgeon said, I'm just gonna make it up as I go along, cause I got natural talent, you would run for the fucking door. I'm not here to shade pantsers. It's fine if that's the route you want to go, but natural talent has nothing to do with your preferred writing process. Natural talent has everything to do with your creativity, imagination, and the end result of your story. Pay attention to the people who repeat this lie. It's usually guys who have never published a book in their life, but they assume pantsing makes them special because Stephen King does it.
Okay, there's a lot to unpack here, and hopefully I can go through everything. First, she just kind of goes for the throat and being like,
imagine thinking that a lack of foresight and organization makes you superior.
And of course, we all know she's categorizing pantsing incorrectly. It's not disorganization, it's just a different method. It may seem disorganized to someone like her who has a very organized writing style, but it is not. And she also brought up, like, imagine if there was another career where being disorganized was a plus. Oh, there wouldn't be. How could there be? Have you ever heard of acting? Have you ever heard of improvisation? Because what we're actually doing isn't being disorganized. What we're doing is improvisation. I'm also a stage actor, and I'm quite good at improvisation as well. Not every stage actor is. Some aren't as good at it, they don't like it, but I really love it, and I think that lends itself to also being a pantser. And quite frankly, there are lots of jobs, not just acting, where having an ability to improvise and not to need a plan when you go into something is a skill that would come in handy. Obviously, there are also lots of careers where you want to have plans, such as being a surgeon, as she suggested, or being a carpenter, or whatever. But there are also tons of careers where being able to fly by the seat of your pants is incredibly useful. And then finally, she does back off just a smidge, just enough to hopefully get people not to yell at her in the comments, where she's like, it's fine if you're a pantser. But right after she's just told you that being one sucks, I don't know if there are like a bunch of pantsers coming for Jenna and telling her that her style is wrong. If there are, they need to stop. But I don't know where she got it in her head, this idea that everyone in the world believes that pantsing a novel is the best way to do it, and if you don't do that, you are somehow inferior. I don't know where she got that in her head, but that seems to be her main thought. If there are pantsers walking the streets right now, believing themselves superior to everyone who plots, obviously they need a reality check. But she also needs a reality check. She always likes to strawman it and make up this character.
Pay attention to the people who repeat this lie. It's usually guys who have never published a book in their life, but they assume pantsing makes them special because Stephen King does it.
She makes up this person that doesn't exist so she can try to deflect from the fact that she is actively harming the writing community. Now this is going to seem very extreme on my part, but again, I've mentioned before that I have had multiple people come over to my channel and be like, oh, thank goodness, I literally thought that I was doing everything wrong. I literally thought that I was a shit writer because Jenna told me that I was for my method. And Jenna made me feel terrible for not writing her way. So the thing that she's trying to prevent herself feeling terrible for being a plotter is what she's actually doing to some of the writing community. Her show is definitely like babies first. It's definitely like one of the first channels that many people run into in all of AuthorTube because she's so big. So they run into her, they're an aspiring young writer, they're all excited, and then they find out that the way that they've been writing is completely wrong, and she thinks they're idiots for doing it that way. And I'm just not into that, like, personally. But anyway, I've talked enough about this. Let's go on to her next little section, which isn't really about pantsing, but I also wanted to rebut it, so we're gonna listen to that next.
Number 8, no tears in the reader, no tears in the writer. What if I told you some people just aren't that emotional? This is another situation where process doesn't dictate talent. People are varied and diverse, and writing processes are also varied and diverse. It's kind of like saying if you're not method acting, no one's gonna believe your performance. Over half of Hollywood would beg to differ. A lot of people think method acting just makes you an asshole. Writing is a different experience for everyone. Some writers see their characters as precious babies, and they mourn the loss of every single character death. Other writers see their characters as cogs in their glorious writing machine, and they feel nothing when they make them suffer. Nothing but pride and validation.
This is another way that I'm very opposite to Jenna. I am one of those, as she would call them, emotional writers. Ugh, me and my dang feelings. Now, if you met me in person, you would not think I was that way because I am actually very private with my feelings in person. But that's one of the joys of writing and making art, is it allows me to be emotional on the page and be emotional with my characters. I'm an incredibly character-focused writer, so I think my emotionality with my characters helps them be stronger. She mentions like method acting, and I don't know really how that applies to this situation, but she talks about how some authors, feel that their characters are their precious babies and mourn all of their losses. Some authors, like herself, just think of her characters as cogs in a machine. And I will let her finish, but I can tell as a reader when an author does not emotionally care about their characters, and I personally as a reader do not like it. But again, it's subjective, so maybe some people don't mind that, but we're gonna let her just finish up here.
Additionally, being super emotional about your writing can potentially be a hindrance. Sometimes you're so emotionally invested in your story, you can't see its flaws, or you may be unwilling to make necessary edits. Basically, this claim is false because it's subjective. Writing is art, and the emotional impact of art depends on the readers, not the writer.
So she's right. Writing is art, art is subjective, and everybody's going to get different things from your book. For example, I found Jenna's characters to be extremely wooden and unrealistic and unfun to follow because they don't feel like humans, they feel like chess pieces on a board that she just moves around. Also, she mentioned being too emotionally attached, so you won't do things like delete scenes or kill off characters. That's not a problem that I personally have. I am not precious about the scenes that I keep. Like, there might be some where I'm like, yes, I feel very strongly about this scene, but most of the time I'm willing to delete just about anything if it helps the story. And as far as killing characters, while many books just don't require killing characters because it doesn't fit with the tone, if you've got a book like Jenna's where the focus is on a death competition, I think any of us would be fine killing our characters, whether we view them as whole people or cogs in the machine. That said, I was surprised with how few characters actually died in The Savior's Champion. I was ready for a lot more bloodshed. There are lots of people who love her books and love her characters, and for them, the fact that these characters just don't feel fleshed out and real, that's not a problem. That's not a problem. Heck, it might even be an upside. Maybe they just like very tropey characters. Maybe that's their favorite. So yes, art is subjective, but emotionality is not a weakness. Being emotionally connected to your characters is not a weakness. Do you have to be? No. I'm probably not going to like your book very much, though. I have written recently 2 books, one which I was not really into and one which I was extremely emotionally invested in. And my readers could tell. They could tell when I was emotionally invested in the story, and it made for a better story. In my opinion, as a reader, emotional investment on the part of the author, especially emotional investment in the characters, makes a better story. I would strongly actually recommend trying to be emotional with or for your characters at least a little bit. Much like Jenna cannot imagine pantsing a story, I cannot imagine writing a story without any emotion for my characters in it. I simply cannot see them as cogs in a wheel or pieces on a board, and that's okay. Comment below if you're more like me or more like Jenna as far as emotionality when you're writing. Do you get very invested and emotional right alongside your characters, or are you detached and try to keep them at arm's length and really view them as less as characters and more of just pieces to move around? Alright, now we're going on to one of her other videos, 10 things I learned the hard way about writing and publishing. And this is where we get her villain origin story, the reason that she hates pantsers so much. Well, at least maybe one of the reasons. So let's have a listen and then see what we think about it.
Number 4, outline. People give me so much shit for being a proponent of outlining.
That's not why I'm giving you shit, Jenna. I do not care if you outline every single moment, every nanosecond of your book. I do not care. It is the fact that you are making authors who don't outline feel like you think that they're idiots. Young, aspiring authors panic and feel like they're bad or unintelligent or unskilled. All right, moving on.
They're like, but Jenna, you at least have to try pantsing.
No, you don't. I was incredibly lucky. When I started writing, I was young, and that was before the internet because I'm old now. And because of that, I was not influenced by anyone else's methods for writing. And I was incredibly lucky to find that pantsing is my method. Some people, it takes a lot longer to find their method, and if they stumble upon Jenna first, they might really struggle to find their method because she's going to tell them there's only one correct way to do it, even though she might be like, oh, but really, no, it's fine if you're a pantser, but she's just told you that you were crappy if you are one, so why would you want to be that? But anyway, we already talked about this. If you are a plotter and you've never tried pantsing, but plotting is working for you, why would you stop doing the thing that's working for you? I will never understand the people who insist that you can't know if you don't like something unless you try it, when the thing that you're doing you already like. Try it, you might like it is great advice if you are, say, trying new foods, but it is not universal advice that applies to everything in life. Like, I love horseback riding, but if somebody said, I don't have any interest in horseback riding, I wouldn't be like, you have to try horseback riding to decide whether you want to do it or not. No, that's ridiculous. So I stand up for anybody who's found their method that's working for them. It's a proven method that's working for them. If they don't want to try another way, they do not have to. And that does not make them a lesser writer. It does not make them a lazy writer. It means they figured out what works for them and they're doing it. If you hear background noises, Nigel is here. He really wants to be like up against the microphone. I'm trying to prevent him as best I can. Anyway, onward.
I have have. That's why I'm a proponent of outlining. I've been writing stories since I was 6 years old, and I've been attempting to write a full-length novel since the 4th grade. From ages 9 to 25, I'd started over 20 novels, and I finished none of them.
Jenna and I have a very similar backstory. I've also been writing since I was 6 years old, but I finished my first novel, what I consider to be my first completed novel, when I was 13, and I pantsed my way through it. So I think I found the method that works for me early, which is incredibly fortunate.
Because I was pantsing. I had no direction, I lost track of the structure, I meandered all over the place. Basically, my writing was trash. When I began what eventually became my debut novel, I pantsed as well. And I pantsed myself into a corner by chapter 4. The block was so bad that I completely stopped writing for months. And then I got this amazing idea. What if I outlined the book instead of pulling random shit out of my ass? So I write an outline, and lo and behold, that's the first book I was ever able to publish. Funny how that works. If pantsing is the hill you want to die on, have at it.
I didn't catch this before, but she's just told me that the first book she ever finished is the first book she published. And having read Eve the Awakening, that does explain a few things. If you want to watch my review of Eve the Awakening, let me just say I was not impressed.
But if I have to choose between emulating Stephen King's method and publishing actual books, I'm gonna go with the latter.
Okay, so that's her full thought. So that's her villain origin story. She tried pantsing for a long time. It didn't work. She tried plotting, and it worked. Perfectly fine. 100% reasonable. However, it does not explain her, absolute loathing for pantsers. And I want to know, who hurt her? Where is this pantser who came for her and told her that she was a bad writer unless she was a pantser? I need to know, because I will beat them up on her behalf. But whoever made her feel that way, she needs to know that she is making other people feel that same way, just in reverse. As I have mentioned several times already, just saying after you've just insulted pantsing and everyone who does it, just saying, but if you pants, that's fine, is not enough. I'm really pleased that she has stopped including this in every single one of her videos, because for a hot minute there, every single one of her 10 tips videos, I could guarantee that one of the 10 tips was going to be, you have to plot. As of this recording, she does have a new video out, which is how to write a novel from beginning to end, and I haven't watched it yet, but I am betting money that she's going to mention somewhere in there that you have to plot it or you're doing it wrong. Now, maybe I'll lose money on this bet, but I'm willing to make the bet. While she has backed off this subject somewhat, she ain't over it completely. It's one thing to have opinions about stuff and prefer one style over another, and her video making style is very direct and she mocks people and things all the time, but once you've done it enough times in every single video and driven it into people's heads, and also people look at you as a teacher and they look to you for help and advice, they're going to start to internalize it. You're making them feel the way that you felt when whoever it was told you that you couldn't be a real writer unless you pantsed your way through a novel. Her experience with pantsing is very different from mine. Even at a young age, I did not struggle the way that she did with my story meandering and myself writing myself into a corner. Maybe our brains are just wired very slightly differently. As I said, I'm incredibly good at improvisation. Hilariously, I'm a very organized person in the rest of my life. I like lists, I like plans. I always want to have everything in my life planned out in triplicate months before it happens. But with writing, I can go with the flow, and the flow works really well for me. That's basically it. Those are my thoughts. I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know if I'll respond to her anymore. I mean, I'm gonna keep watching her videos. I still enjoy her style and her snark. I am gonna probably make this my last one where I complain about how much I dislike the way she treats pantsers. Maybe she'll come up with some new way to mock us in the future that will get my goat. who knows? But I'm sure there will still be other videos where she'll talk about writing characters and such, where I will disagree as a very character-oriented writer myself with a very different method for writing characters than her. So keep an eye out for that. And in the meantime, check out the other videos I've done where I have talked about videos that she has made if you want to. Otherwise, feel free to wander my channel. I also have read-alongs of her Savior's Champion and Savior's Sister books where we dissect them. But I have talked for far too long. You can find my books for sale on Amazon right now. I will be having a new one coming out either very soon or maybe it's already out. I don't know when this video is going up. And if you want to read any of my work for free, I have a Wattpad where I have some short stories and also longer works that are either never going to be published or I have the first drafts up on Wattpad. So if you want to go check that out, you can. Don't forget that you can hop on over to my Patreon to see exclusive content never seen here on the regular channel and help me publish my own books. And I will see all of you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time. Bye!
Join me, and together we can rule the galaxies.
My 96, Unicorn Jenny, Callison, SV, Celia, Taya, Alyssa, Rita, Deborah, Afra, Melissa, AC, Swamp Goblin Waifu, Ashley, Sophia, Merween, Kit, Hidden Glade, Light Julie, Belle, Patrick, and Sophie, Ray, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Rennie, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Sarah. I just made something unexpected, something sharp, something new. It's not symmetrical or perfect, but it's beautiful, and it's mine. What else can I do?